Picking profitable book topics is one of the trickiest and most challenging portions of the entire publishing business model. In fact, it's no wonder because nobody wants to be left with an empty wallet and some dead dreams. So it's one of the biggest pitfalls, and it's one of the things that prevent most people from getting started. There's so much fear around that, putting all that time, energy, and resources into creating a book only to have it flop and generate no sales. I totally get it. I was in your shoes if that is where you're currently at right now. Way back when I first got started, I was wondering, and I was fearful that when I produced my first book, will it just sit there and not produce any sales? So what I'm going to be sharing with you in this video is 3 steps to ensure that you go through a process that significantly increases the odds and stacks it against you that your book will predictably generate sales. I'm going to also show you how you can use this system and literally show you a book that's producing $40,000 per month. Yes, that's no joke. Using this system, I'll show you how I got to that book and how many other books are also making money using this predictable 3-step approach that I've personally used to publish well over 250 books of my own book portfolio, as well as well over 1,000 student books have used this 3-step, what I call filtering mechanism, again, to ensure you predictably generate sales and significantly mitigate the risks of publishing a flop, for lack of a better word. So what is the big mistake that most people make? Well, the issue that most people make is they rely on feelings, or they say to themselves, hey, I'm going to write this book about a certain topic because they believe it's trendy. They believe that because maybe amongst them, their peers in their circle or whoever they speak to, friends, family, because it's a hot topic amongst them, it's going to sell well, right? So oftentimes when we make our decision based on our own mind, unfortunately, it's oftentimes not the right answer. And you may know a lot about the topic, right? You might even be an expert about the topic, but oftentimes if you're even slightly off, right? Well, I'm talking about the topic here, about the book. If you're slightly off, it can cost you a small fortune, right? So I want to give you an example to even emphasize the fact that even experts use what I like to call data, right, to make a decision on what book topics and exactly how to position their books. So let me share with you a book that you may be familiar with. It's Tim Ferriss created this book, I think, like a decade ago or maybe 14 years ago, or I'm not quite sure. A long time ago. It's a bestseller, and this author is very known today, right? But it wasn't like that way back before. In fact, in the book, Tim Ferriss, I believe this was before he wrote the book or when he finished writing the first manuscript, he didn't know what the title of the book would be. So he actually shares the story in the book. So cleverly, what he did is, instead of relying just on his own opinion and his own mind, he basically ran ads on Google testing different headlines, right? Titles of the book. And rather than, again, relying on himself and his own opinion, maybe of himself and his peers and whoever, he relied on data. So he ran ads, and based on the click-through rates of different titles of ads he was running, this is the one that ended up getting the best click-through rate. Most people were interested in this headline, right? The title of the book, The 4-Hour Work Week. Sure enough, he used that data to publish the book, and the rest is history, right? New York Times, the #1 Wall Street bestseller, and yada, yada, yada. He's very famous today and very wealthy as well. So this is just one idea I kind of want to cement, and that is to use data before making a decision to publish or not. So I even made this mistake, and I'm not too shame. I don't have too much of an ego to not admit that. I've published countless of books that ended up being flops because I also, like I said, use my own opinion, my own judgment, what I thought the market would want. And I even witnessed people making this exact mistake at an epic level. In fact, when I graduated from college, I really, my biggest dream was to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to work for myself. But unfortunately, I didn't have the courage. I didn't have the, I was too fearful. So what I ended up doing is I ended up doing the next best thing, which is to work for small tech startups and working directly side by side with CEOs. And over the years, I would witness them generate or get funds from different venture capital firms, from angel investors, from friends and family, and they would raise hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for their startup, which was still in the unproven phase, right? Only to be left, months or years later with a business that never generated enough money, never generated enough cash because the concept wasn't proven, right? The market didn't respond well to what they had to offer. Again, it was the same mistake being committed over and over again. And the reason I'm really emphasizing this, and I'll get to the exact mistake, it's because I've seen it countless of times. And even in our program, countless of students, at first, this is the mindset they come into, right? And it's something that we immediately have to address because it's going to cost you a small fortune. So the big mistake is that your goal is not to basically create demand, right? When you think of a book topic and you're saying to yourself, I'm going to create a book topic about XYZ. Let's just call it XYZ because if I start talking about a book topic right now, I'm probably going to share a student book topic or overnight book topics, etc. But let's just call it XYZ, right? And you say to yourself, hey, I think this is going to be a great idea. I think it's going to sell and do really well. And you get super excited. You start dumping all this time, energy, and resources into creating, listing it, marketing it, and it ends up not working. The issue is what you should be doing is finding the market first, right? Doing it this first way, you're hoping that the market's going to respond well. You're crossing your fingers and wishing, hey, I hope this market responds well to my idea, to my unproven concept. While on the other end, you can basically find a market, an existing market that is already hungry and buying these types of things, and you could just sell to them. It's infinitely easier to do it this way than hoping, right? Looking at the data, evaluating what people are buying, and then selling something that is similar, if not better, than what the market is already buying. Now, I totally get it. Everybody wants to be like Elon Musk and, create rocket ships that can land on themselves. Just a week ago, I saw the Starship that landed on itself, or create an electric vehicle that can go 0 to 60 in half a millisecond. But it's infinitely easier to basically find a market, right, and sell to them than to basically attempt to create a market, right? So the big lesson here is to basically find markets that are proven, right? The concept is already proven. People are already buying these types of, in this case, books, and you basically not copy, you emulate what the theme is, right? What I teach is a system called data-driven value publishing, and throughout this video, I'll explain it a little bit more. But the main goal is that you're using a data-driven approach to make your decision to publish or not. So let's kind of transition here, and I'll share with you the 3 steps that you should be taking to basically decide whether or not you should publish your book. So step number 1, you want to look for books with high demand and low competition, right? So it's the old saying, you want a lot of people buying and you don't want to compete versus a lot of competitors. What you want to do first is basically think of different topics that you may have an interest in. It's always best to start off with something that you may have an interest in because If you typically have an interest in it, you typically have more knowledge than the average person walking down the street. So it gives you already a competitive advantage. But even if you have no experience or basically knowledge about the topic, it's not the end of the world. There are ways that you can become an expert rather rapidly. Try typing into Amazon different keywords of book topics you believe that you will relate to and that you believe will sell well. And when you look at the search results on Amazon, you want to ask yourself a few questions. Number one, do you think that you'll be able to reach the top 5 search results for any given book topic / keyword? I use those words rather interchangeably. So you want to ask yourself that question. If everyone being shown in the search results are all celebrities, known influencers, speakers that are backed by a big publishing house with an infinite marketing budget, then maybe you want to deviate from that book title or / keyword and maybe go into a sub niche or slightly change the positioning of your book, right? So this is one of the first things you could do. Now, I know tons of students that basically struggle with this particular issue where they don't know what to write about or what topics to create. And if this is you, right, I totally get it. There are ways that you can quickly find not only interesting topics, but topics that, again, meet the criteria of high demand and low competition. And in fact, this recommendation came from a student inside of our program, and it's helped many find many lucrative keywords. And the website is called answerthepublic.com. So answerthepublic.com, all one word. And it's a tool that basically allows you to search across different platforms. So YouTube, Google, Amazon, and others as well. You can type in any keyword, and the minute you type in a keyword, all these different sub-keywords that people are searching for, which are trending, will appear. And you can do this for across different platforms as well as across different countries. So you can see where are these things trending? What are people searching for? So I did a little experiment and I inputted the keyword longevity. So it's a pretty trendy nowadays topic, and you would think that there would be a lot of competition. But the minute I inputted that keyword, I started getting search results such as longevity diet recipes, longevity meal plans, dog longevity. So let me just pause on this real quickly. In step number 2 is how I found a book generating almost 40, to be exact, 39,000 and some change per month, right? So one wouldn't necessarily think about dog longevity when you think about longevity, but just thinking about it, the demand for people that own dogs and longevity married together, right? So using different tool and using your judgment, whether or not you think you can rank, is one of the first pillars to basically mitigate the chances of publishing a flop. When you rely just on yourself and your own mind and publish a book, that's a danger zone. When you use data, right, that can quickly basically spit out at you different keywords and sub-niches and different things, well, you're already heading in the right direction. But this is only step 1. It's not enough, right? We need to further validate it, whether or not the book is profitable, right? So step number 2, what are we going to do? Well, what we're going to do is very simple. We're going to follow the money trail, right? So we're lucky enough that on Amazon, believe it or not, they share a score called the bestseller rank. The bestseller, or lack of a better for abbreviated word, is BSR score. So bestseller rank, short for BSR. So they share this number, and what it does is it gives us an estimate of how many units they are selling each and every single month on average, right? On a 30-day window, how many units are being sold. So we can easily reverse engineer whether or not our potential competitors are generating money. Kind of like the example of Tim Ferriss, where he ran ads and looked at the data before publishing his book because he wanted to make sure it was profitable. Well, we're doing the exact same thing here. Step number 1, we found a tool and we started thinking about whether or not we can publish in this based on the competition. And we basically found several keywords around meal plans, diets, and dog longevity. Step number 2, we're going to start inputting those keywords into Amazon, and we're going to start looking at our competitors' BSR scores or bestseller rank. And we'll be able to reverse engineer whether or not they are making money, right? So again, we're using a data-driven approach to potentially make a decision to publish or not, right? So when you input that keyword, right? So I've tried inputting the keyword longevity diet recipes, longevity meal plans, and dog longevity. When I did input the keyword dog longevity, I found a keyword that basically was a competitor's book that had a BSR score of 1,593. So what does that mean? That means on the website of Amazon.com, which is the US market, it is the 1,593rd best-selling book, right? Best-selling score out of all the books in the United States on Amazon.com. So you can imagine that's like top 1%. And this is a book that you could easily figure out how many units that is. You could just take that number, 1593, and you just Google BSR book sales calculator or book BSR calculator on Google. You'll find plenty of calculators out there that can basically reverse engineer the BSR score into how many units are being sold. Pick out 3 or 4 or 5 of them. I like to get a good average. And basically, when I use those calculators, the average was about 2,100 units being sold per month. Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe the book was selling for around $18.50. So an average estimated, again, approximate gross revenue per month, that's $39,250 per month, right? So you say to yourself, wow, that's a lot of demand, right? And when we further look at this is not a person that's a celebrity or that is a known person, whatnot. This is just a person that found a niche, right? As the old saying goes, the riches are in the niches. They found a niche. They probably evaluated demand, supply and demand, the level of competition, the level of how many people are searching for it. And then they delivered on a book. They created a book that is valuable to the marketplace, that addresses the pains, frustrations, and the needs of their target audience, right? So again, this is a book that realistically, approximately, is almost making $500,000. Now, if you think this is the only book that was making money, it wasn't. Of course, this was one of the ones that were making the most money, but there were other books that were independently published, so self-publishers like you and me that are probably doing this in their basement, in their bedroom office, on their kitchen table, after work, and they also created, I believe it was nutritious, healthy dog cookbook and recipes, which, going back to step number 1, these are all keywords we found, right? Meal longevity, diet longevity, dog longevity. So you can see how we first evaluated the demand. Next step, we actually look at the data to see if they're making money or not using the BSR scores. We reverse engineer how many units they're selling, and then we could just multiply units sold per month times the price, and we get an estimated gross monthly average of how much money they're generating, right? So that's step number 2, right? And if you think that's good, it's only going to get better from here. In step number 3, what we're going to do is very, very simple. We're going to become market detectives. This is where we start looking at those 2, 3 potential direct competitors, and we start evaluating what topics are they talking about, right? We start looking at the reviews. We start looking at their table of contents. There's a preview button where we can see inside the book. But what we pay even more attention to is some of the cons, right? Some of the weaknesses that they have. So typically what I recommend people do is look at the 4-star, 3-star, 2-star reviews. Not so much the 5-star because that's a bit biased, and the 1-star reviews are sometimes too dramatic. Somewhere in the middle, right, amongst these competitors, there's going to be a lot of reviews of people saying different things, right? So what I recommend to do is to note down these things that people may be complaining about, that maybe your potential competitors miss the mark on certain things. Maybe it doesn't show different diagrams. Maybe it's too complicated. Maybe it's too simple. Maybe it's... Write all these things down, because as the formula goes, and I kind of hinted on it earlier in the video, data-driven value publishing. You're using a data-driven approach to make a decision to publish or not. And then the goal is not to copy. You obviously are emulating the theme and feel of the book, but you're looking to create a more valuable book to offer to the marketplace, because the last thing you want to do is be the third, fourth, fifth, sixth competitor doing the exact same thing. That is not the goal. The goal is to add value to the marketplace and offer a more valuable book than what's already being offered. And that's how you stand out from the crowd, by looking at the weaknesses of those potential direct competitors and offering a better value. So say, for example, your competitors are just offering, recipes or whatnot. Well, what if you came in and offered a bonus video tutorial, basically going over, I don't know, I'm just making things up on the fly here, but DIY recipes at home. You're literally filming your kitchen table as you're preparing these healthy, nutritious, for longevity dog recipes. Wouldn't that give you a competitive advantage? Wouldn't that provide more value to the potential customer than your competitors who's generating 40K per month? Yes, it would. In fact, I had a student that, without giving away her keyword or book title, was in the health/fitness niche, where she saw that most of the competitors, right, the reviews and the rating, what people were complaining about was that there was a lack of visual demonstrations. Most of the books didn't offer anything to basically show the different exercises for that topic. Again, without getting into specifics. So what my student did is they basically created a book that was similar to what was already being sold, but then on each page of the exercises featured a QR code where the potential reader can scan with their phone, and it would immediately show a video demonstration of the exercise, right? So again, it provides more value than what the competitors are doing, and it basically stands out from the crowd, right? You automatically are the perceived most valuable product out there, because you're going above and beyond and offering so much more value than what the others are doing, right? So it kind of shifts all the eyeballs from your competitors to your book. And that's just one example. There's some books that, students, even I've done this a million times, where a lot of the reviews were saying that the competitor's book were basically too overwhelming. They had too much detail. So you basically create a book that's more simple. Other books that are too simple, you want to provide more details. Or an example would be that if the book was too complicated, maybe offer an action plan. Maybe at the end of every chapter, offer a summary, offer steps to basically take, right? Guide the reader on what to do, right? So you want to basically gather all this intelligence into this document that you're going to prepare. And that will be pretty much your blueprint or your skeleton to know for a fact, right, or as close as possible, to ensure that your book is not a flop and it meets the expectations of the market. Again, going back to my story earlier, if you just cross your fingers and you wish and you hope your book is going to sell, most likely, even if you're an expert in the field, you'll probably miss the mark. You'll deviate from what exactly the market wants. If you do the research, right, and you try to find high demand, low competition keywords, you use different tools like Answer the Public that I kind of mentioned for you, which is free for, I believe, for the first few searches, which is perfect, which is plenty. You could find probably your keyword just doing those few searches. Number two, evaluating the BSR scores, right? As I said, if you just Google BSR book sales calculator or book sales calculators, you'll find plenty of them free on the internet where you can input your competitors or your potential competitors' BSR score, copy and paste them into those calculators, get the average of what they're saying, and then you could just multiply whatever that average is of units sold per month, multiplied by what the price is, and you'll get the average gross revenue that the book is generating, right? If you're comfortable with those numbers, great. You move on to the third step, which is basically look and become a detective at those direct competitors that you potentially will be competing against. Look at their strengths, but definitely evaluate their weaknesses. Where can you basically take advantage of some of those weaknesses? Like I said, if the book is too simple, obviously provide more details. If the book is too detailed, maybe make it more simple and may offer more of a step-by-step guide or action plan or a handbook. If your competitors are not offering enough demonstrations, maybe go up one step above and offer video trainings as well, right? The sky's the limit here, but you want to become a detective at this point, right? So for closing points, you are realistically one book away from having your entire income situation get changed. This is what happened with me. The reality is, even when you generate $1 through specifically any kind of platforms, I specifically focus the most on Amazon publishing. When you generate money using Amazon publishing and you get that first dollar deposit into your bank account, something just magically happens in your brain where you stop associating time traded for money, right? All of a sudden you have worked, of course, a few hours, a few days, maybe a week or two, etc. Whatever the time it's going to take to create that book, you work once and then it keeps paying you dividends and dividends and dividends. So something in your mind starts shifting where you start saying, oh, now if I keep doing this over and over again, I'm going to build myself a portfolio that passively generates income for me, right? Now, the business is, I always like to say, it's not 99.9999% passive. It's passive enough that you don't have to be there every single day, checking every little thing and whatnot, right? So it's one of the best ways to create a digital empire, a digital asset, and you can create an empire around that just keeps basically spitting passive income for you, right? So again, your book doesn't have to be a literary masterpiece. It could just be simple, short how-to guides. And the goal is, as I mentioned, you never want to make the mistake and hope something is going to work. Typically, that's when you're thinking about in your own mind, or you're just using the opinions of your inner circle to make a decision to basically publish or not. You always want to use a formula like this, the 3 steps, to ensure that the book that you're going to be publishing is a success, right? This mitigates the chances of publishing a flop because you're using a data-driven approach. And at the end, the 3rd step, you're adding value to the marketplace because you're not just copying, you're basically delivering more than what everyone else is doing in the marketplace. Therefore, you're standing out from the crowd. That being said, if you like this video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to click on my profile, wherever this may be, to watch more videos. And if you want to check us out and basically join a training academy where we shortcut the time it takes you to learn all this stuff, we give you a proven path, a proven blueprint for you to follow in order for you to ensure that you use these proven battle-tested steps to basically publish books that are going to be profitable for you, and they're going to pay you dividends month in, month out, year in, year out. All right? That being said, catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.